What's up, guys? Welcome to the Crypto Savvy channel. I'm Craig, and as usual, we're going to be going over the charts. We're going to be taking a look at the Dow Jones, the DXY, gold, silver, the SPY, which is the S&P. We're going to take a look at all that at the end of the video and see kind of how it aligns with what happens when market crashes. Very interesting. Definitely stick around. But first, we're going to go over Bitcoin. Make sure you smash those thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And share the video if you would. Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. The same thing we've been watching for a while. We fell out of this first rising channel. This is on the 4 hour. And our target's about 15.8. Still looking for that 15.8. But prior to that, we have this. People are looking at this as a reversal triangle or diamond. I don't believe that's what it was. It was way too sloppy. If we take a measured move of this rising channel, that gets us down to about 16,100. That's where I'd be looking for a bounce down here. But regardless, I think we're coming back down to these levels at least. I talked about that yesterday. 15.8 is our next target there, and then we have 15.3 all the way down to the bottom of here on the 4 hour, right? This 14.5 to 14.8, that is our weekly target. We'll take a look at that here in a minute. But let's look at the daily. Our daily target from falling out of this descending triangle right here, that brings us down to around the $8,000 range. As you guys know, I think we'll see a false bottom around 75 to 8,500, get a rally, and that false bottom won't be until February or March. We've been talking about this for over a year, right? And I've been talking about the big crypto scam washout, which includes many, if not all, altcoins, and a lot of exchanges, a lot of scammy projects all over, guys. We talked about this happening over a year ago. I made a video on it when I first started comparing it to the .com bubble with the Amazon chart, right? Which we're going to take a look at too before we go over the Dow, DXY, and all that good stuff, right? So here's the daily. We talked about this in, last week. We did come up, retest this daily RSI target. And still have further down to go. Like I said, around 14.8 is what I'm looking for. It's not to say we can't have a quick spike scam wake up, right? Remember, in a bear market, people are always talking about buying the dips. In a bear market, you should be shorting the rips, right? So anyways, this is what I'm looking for. I do believe in the RSI. We're going to come back down to these areas here, around the 20 and a half range on the RSI, and that'll be our next bounce, right? So if we do have our 78 or 75 to 8,500, that should get us into possibly February or March to get down to these levels and then continue back up. So everybody's expecting these huge candles to happen in 1 second. Guys, this is how the markets play out, right? Just when you sit back, relax, and look at what's really going on, it's not as crazy as people think, right? I know BitBoy had made a video talking about my theory with the .com bubble, and then his theory that the 4-year cycle will continue to play out, and then the other one, which I don't even know what the hell it was. But anyway, when you hear someone talking about someone else's theory, you need to go to look at their channel, right, to know their theory, to actually understand it, because BitBoy doesn't watch my videos thoroughly, obviously, because he doesn't get what I'm saying. He doesn't have the price ranges right, nor does he have the time frames right on my theory. His theory is his theory, but you can't sit there and talk about someone else's theory if you don't know it in depth. So please, BitBoy, unless you watch my theory in depth, please quit talking about it. And with the snipey little frenemy, I'm not your frenemy. I've done nothing but I have not sit there and bashed you like 99.9% of other YouTubers and things like that. So just if you're going to talk about my stuff, talk about it and actually watch it. If you haven't watched it all the way through, if you don't understand what I'm saying, all the way through, don't talk about what I'm saying, because you're not saying what I'm saying. So anyways, I wanted to get that out there. Looking at the weekly, right? We drew this in a couple months ago, talked about it looking something like this, and what do you know? It's looking something like that. We had our rejection before breaking out of this weekly RSI trend line. Now remember what I've been talking about with the false bottom. Once we get this bounce from down here, I think that's when we'll break the weekly RSI trend line. Then everyone's going to get super bullish. The bottom is in, and then I think we're going to get probably maybe 100% rally from that point. So if it's 7,000, maybe rally to 14, 15,000, right? To get everyone super bullish, because we're going to break that RSI trend line and then continue on down. I believe the bottom will be in sometime in the middle or end of 2023. Now, a lot of people are saying that they think this could bounce up to 30,000 from here, right? If that was to happen, I think that's just going to prolong it and make it even longer and further out bear market, right? So the other thing I wanted to talk about, people talk about it saying I'm calling a 10-year bear market. No. The bear market will end in, the next year, possibly two, the worst, before it hits bottom. And then it is up from there, but there will be more downtrends in there, right? Every 4 years. People will like the 4-year cycle theory, but it doesn't have to hit a new all-time high every year. Could be a 4-year cycle, right? It doesn't mean it has to hit a new all-time high every year, and I'll show you that in the charts coming up. So if you guys are interested in trading before we go on, check out Prime XBT. Links down below in the video. By far my favorite exchange. I don't trade against you. You can trade all this stuff on here: crypto, Forex, gold, silver, oil, S&P, Dow Jones, everything all from one exchange. You can use my promo code SAVVY50. That'll get you up to a $7,000 bonus. SAVVY25 will get you 25% off of your fees. I will leave a tutorial at the end of the video, or you can just go to my YouTube page and you'll see the tutorials there. This is the .com scam washout chart from last December 2nd, last year, 2021. I put this out and started talking about it. And I talked about it coming all the way down to these levels, and if it was to play out the same, would get us somewhere on here. It would be between 5,000 and 6,000 for a false bottom. But like I said, I'm looking at 75 to 85. Could go lower. Then we get our rally, right? We also break that weekly RSI trend line right here when that happens. And then we, everybody gets super bullish right here, right? Looks huge if you zoomed in there, which they will be if it happens over here. They'll be zooming in, making it look huge. Only to turn around and make a lower low, right? I do believe that's what's going to play out here. Now, what invalidates this? If we cross this 55 EMA before hitting these lows, then I think that it will invalidate this chart. But as of right now, guys, if you watch this 55 EMA, even if you don't catch the exact bottom on the weekly, if you have patience, once we get above that and hold, you're much safer to buy at these levels than all these levels, right? Let's see how the dollar cost average worked out for these guys, right? That have been telling you not to sell to dollar cost average all the way down. So even if you, watched my video back here when I started talking about this and sold and bought back now, even if you bought back now, you're doing way better than all these people that were buying right here, right? So if that's what you want to do it. I'm not telling anybody when to buy, sell, short, long. All I'm doing is telling you what I do, right? You have to make up your own mind, make up your own decisions, and what you choose is what you choose. I'm just showing you how I'm looking at the markets, why I'm looking at them this way, and what I'm seeing in them, right? So as you guys know, this is what I'm seeing, and what would it look like in the bigger picture, right? Here's where Big Boy got it wrong, right? He calls it like a 10-year bear market. It's not, right? If the market gets down to these levels, if you look here, this is how a macro bottom forms, guys. This wasn't a macro bottom, just like this wasn't a macro bottom, right? A macro bottom takes a long time to form. This is a weekly chart, right? So this one over here happened to make an inverse head and shoulders. Could we see the same thing here? Possibly. But like I said, the 4-year cycle, right? So if we get our bounce, the middle or end of 2023, get a big bounce up to 35 to 45,000, right? That's a 10x into 2025, middle or end of 2025, and then another drop. I don't see this thing just shooting up to the moon. That's just not how markets work, guys. If it does, maybe Bitcoin is different, but for now, it's just another market. Overhyped market at that, with a lot of scams that need washed out, and this is how they get washed out. We've talked about this. But anyways, the drop from here into middle of 2028, So even if you weren't trading, just buying and selling. So if you bought down here, say between 3,000 and 10,000, then you sold between 20 and, you know, you have a lot of money to be made there. And then you could buy more back here in 2028 into 2029. See how this rip went pretty quick. Might see the same type thing here. And then this is where he had it wrong. I don't know. He said 2030 or something. I don't know. I don't know what he was saying, but what I'm saying here is it could be 10 years from the high, which is November 2021. So it could be 2031 before we break this all-time high. But that doesn't mean it's in a bear market till then. The bear market ends here, right? In the next year or two. Yeah, and if you think about it, if all these scams get washed out and whatnot, it takes a long time to build confidence to get back in this market, right? And I believe that's what's going to happen. It's going to take a long time. Here's another one. This is Amazon. You overlay that on the Bitcoin chart, right? It's almost identical. Tops, bottoms, everything. They're both weekly charts, right? This would say the false bottom is in February or March. This would say our rally gets us up into April or June next year, come back down, the true bottom being between September and October, somewhere in this range. And then we, you know, have a nice big rally up. Everyone will be screaming, you know, new all-time highs all the way up here. So be prepared for that. All right, before we get into the Dow, the DXY, S&P, gold, and silver, I want to continue this warning for Binance. Now, it's not just singling out Binance. I'm going off of charts. All altcoins are making this same pattern. It's not a good pattern, guys. And I think it could spell serious trouble for Binance. I've been talking about it for months now. You can see this is FTT over here, right? But literally every altcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, everything's making the same pattern. And what happens? They got a long way down to go, guys. Binance is no different. I think they are in serious trouble. I'm going to stick with that. I don't think if BNB crashes and then everything on their chains crash, that's a lot of money in their exchange that I'm sure is collateralized in one way or another, is going to be bad news. All right. Now, one more before we get into the charts. Check out my wife's webpage, anchorimage.com. Great way to help support the channel. She does this all herself. Happy wife, happy life. I appreciate all you guys that have been coming on here buying stuff. Much appreciated. And this is the Dow Jones, right? This on the left is the on the right is the 1929 Great Depression. Now, I believe this could be what we are looking at, right? And I'll show you in the weekly charts in a minute. The only thing that rises in a true bear market, which Bitcoin has never seen a bear market, right? Traditional markets have been in a bull market ever since the creation of Bitcoin. It's never seen a bear market. Now, why would anybody that understands markets want to put money into Bitcoin if traditional markets are in a bear market? People aren't putting money into risk, right? There will come a time for them to get back into risk, but not in a true bear market, which I think we are about to witness over the next year or so, right? You can see what happened in the Great Depression. Same pattern. You guys know I love patterns. Right here, you had a higher high and then a lower high afterwards. And then it ran on this huge rip, right? Before the crash. And we know what happened with the crash. So let's take a look now we're going to take a look at the weekly on the Dow, right? This was the 2008. Back here in the 80s, you got one little dump right here. Actually, it was a big dump. It was probably 50-60% dump from the low, but you can see in 2008, it dropped 54%, right, in the big crash. Now, I think we could go back as low as, you know, retesting at least these lows around 18, but probably around, you know, anywhere from 10 to 13 or 10 to 15,000 for the Dow. I do think that's very possible, possibly much lower. But anyways, so in 2008, you see big dump. This is my DXY chart on the weekly. I'm going to show you all weeklies in gold, silver, and the S&P, all that stuff here right now. But in the 80s, you can see what happened with the DXY. And a lot of you weren't around in the 80s, right? and you could hear about it, but unless you were there and kind of felt it and seen it, and I was young, but I remember seeing a lot of this stuff going on with like drug cartels, and back then it was more Colombia and cocaine, and now it's more Mexico and fentanyl, things like it's just the same type stuff though, right? And back then they were talking about the US dollar going to zero and the banks going under. Same thing back in the 80s as they're talking about right now, right? And you can see the DXY ripped. Why? Because they were scaring people out of the dollar while they got in, just like here, right? 2008, same thing. See, this dollar is the only thing that went up. This is the 80s. I think we're going to have something more like the 80s. So you can see this falling wedge that I've been talking about. The measured move of that gets up to about 170, 180, right? Same type stuff though. You know, back here it was the Russia. They were talking about war and nukes and all that stuff back here too. Same type thing, guys. None of this is surprising to me. Another thing I want to show you, we are on the weekly here, right? You can see back here when this happened, look at this high right here after this run up. Same level, right? Even the pullback came to the same level. This thing is about to rip and rip hard, in my opinion, guys. Just my opinion. Do your own research. None of this is financial advice, as you guys know. But here is gold. In the 80s, big dump, right? But I thought everybody went to gold and silver to hedge against inflation, right? If you look back in history, every time the market dumps, gold, silver, oil, everything dumps with it except the DXY. And what happens in these big dumps? Everybody's scared of the dollar because the world's going to fall apart and the banks are going to go under and your dollar is not going to be worth nothing. That is a great way to get people out of the dollar, while smart money and big institutions get in the dollar to wait for the dumps to get over to buy back in. And if you'll notice too, if you look back in the 80s, even in 2000s, especially around the 2007, 8, and 9 range, tons of gold and silver commercials, tons of them. It's going to go up. It's a hedge against inflation. You got 1000x, 100x, 10x, whatever. And then what happens? Who's selling that? The same people that are paying for those commercials to get you to buy it. If it's going to go up so high and be such an inflation hedge, why the hell are they selling it, right? Why are they pushing to sell it? It's the same scenario over and over, guys. But here's 2008, big dump. It was a 34% dump in gold in 2008. Obviously, yeah, it ripped up after that. But what I'm trying to show you is while everybody's telling you to buy it, this is when people were buying it for inflation or hedge, right? And then the market crashed and they cash out and blah, blah, blah. Same thing over and over. Silver, same thing. 80s, big crash. 2008, crash. Yeah, and you can see the hidden bearish divergence here. Higher highs in the RSI, lower highs in the price action on the weekly. It's just, you guys know my target for silver. My next target's around 1550. If that breaks, looking at around $7, possibly lower, but that's what I'm looking at. S&P, same thing. Look at that crash in the S&P 2008, right? Well, the only thing that went up is the dollar. Here's my targets for S&P. I see it's getting down to at least this 32.5. If that breaks, that's around 27.51 to be our next target. And this would be probably sometime in the middle or end of next year if we get down to these ranges. But once this breaks, my next target is 21.9, all the way down to about 15. It could go much, much lower too. It could go all the way down to these lows down here from 09. But right now, 32.50. If that breaks, 27.51. If that breaks, 21.90. If that breaks, 15.50. That's what I'm looking at. So if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you smash those thumbs up. Even if you didn't, smash those thumbs up. Leave your comments down below. Share the video if you would. I appreciate you guys stopping by, and I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy, guys. I'm out.